What is up, YouTube? I'm Devon, DaVinci, leader of the Renaissance crew, and you are watching DaVinci Reacts. Today, we're going to be getting into a video by Today I Found Out. It's a channel that does the biography videos. I believe that they have another channel dedicated to their biographies, where they just talk about historical figures and, just their life in general. Today's episode, I'm going to be reacting to for two reasons. One is because, as of right now, you guys know that there is a very significant virus that is going around the world and is causing all types of crap. So recently there's been a vaccine that has come out, and there's been some drawbacks to possibly taking it. And I'm actually going to talk against that in the end of the video. And also, the second part, the reason why I'm watching this is because in the black community, there's a very big pushback for the vaccine. And a lot of people will use this very subject, the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment, as a reason for why you shouldn't take the vaccine. And I'm going to attack that too. So, stick around. We're going to watch this to learn about what the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment actually was. I do trust the person that makes this video. I've watched their other videos, and they've been very informed and, very thorough with some of the stuff that they say. So I trust that they'll be able to get all the facts straight and things like that. This is another one of these subjects that a lot of people probably don't know about. Very much like Juneteenth and the Tulsa, Oklahoma race riots. There's a lot of other events that have happened in Black American history that a lot of people don't know about because they don't get covered. And a lot of things just recently surfaced because they have been swept under the rug for so long. So let's jump into this, see what it has to offer. This is something that I've known about for a very long time, but sometimes when people learn about history, especially the quote-unquote woke black person that just learns about this stuff and they think that, just go around just spewing it at any type of argument because you feel like you learned something new, you can use it in an argument despite how irrelevant it is. It tends to get annoying, so let's go ahead and check this out. Just stick around. I will be talking about it.
In 1932, the medical community still did not know a whole lot about treating syphilis. This was the case despite documentation of the disease dating all the way back to around when Columbus made his famous jaunt across the Big Blue. According to the Oxford Journal, syphilis was a cultural embarrassment and had many different names that exemplified prejudices of different nationalities. The German and English called it the French pox. The Russians referred to it as the Polish sickness and the Poles as the German sickness. The Japanese called it the Chinese ulcer. In the 16th century, Europe experienced
So it definitely
syphilis
seems like they took this and tried to use it as some type of propaganda. Very much like how some people try to associate, or not associate, but people call the current virus going around Kung Flu or the China virus. And while it did originate in China, it's kind of wrong to associate it with that. Because to me, when you use a term like that, you're attacking the Chinese people. And a huge majority of the people are perfectly fine. If you have a problem with the government, have a problem with the government, but don't attack just random people.
The Chinese ulcer. In the 16th century, Europe experienced a syphilis epidemic, which was likely caused by the abundance of sailors traveling from seaport to seaport and doing what sailors do when they come into port. In fact, there is some evidence that points to Columbus and his crew being the ones who brought syphilis back from the New World. Anyway, despite the disease being around for 4 or 5 centuries, there was not one true successful treatment for it. One popular remedy for several centuries was the use of mercury, which is actually quite poisonous in its own right, and people would either ingest this or rub it on the skin. This led to the popular saying that a night in the arms of Venus leads to a lifetime on Mercury. In 1908, Japanese scientist
Interesting, I like that.
Sahachiro Hata, working in Germany, discovered the drug salvarsan was somewhat effective as a treatment for syphilis. It was also quite toxic as it came from the arsenic family. There were instances of patients losing limbs after taking this drug. Eventually, in 1912, Hata and Nobel Prize winner Paul Ehrlich developed an easier-to-administer but still toxic drug called neosalvarsan, which became the standard treatment for syphilis until the late 1940s. In the early 20th century, the United States Public Health Service, PHS, was in charge of monitoring, identifying, and figuring out ways to treat ailments, diseases, and conditions that were impacting all U.S. citizens. They were divided into divisions, with one division completely focused on venereal diseases.
Hey, so it only took us about, what, maybe 500 years to develop some type of treatment for syphilis? So, hey, I mean, all you gotta do is wait about maybe 480 more years, and then we might have that AIDS thing going, you know? Bam, there you go. Keep up the good work, man.
In 1957, this particular division would be transferred over to the Center for Disease Control, CDC, but in 1932, the PHS covered sexually transmitted diseases. Between 1929 and 1931, the Rosenwald Fund, an organization that promoted the education and healthcare of poor African-American farmers, sponsored a study with the PHS to identify the southern counties with the highest rates of syphilis among African-American males. Their original intention was to identify and treat the disease. Macon County, Alabama, had the highest rate, with over 35% of the male population infected with the disease. By 1931, the Great Depression was at its height and the Rosenwald funds were short. Despite the need to continue research, the Rosenwald Fund stopped operating in this capacity. So the PHS approached the Tuskegee Institute about forming a research group in order to study the effects of untreated syphilis on a black male population for a duration of 6 to 9 months and then follow up with a treatment plan. The Institute agreed, along with the head of the university's hospital, Dr. Eugene Dibble. The study during the first year was led by Dr. Taliaferro Clark. The PHS enrolled 600 Macon County men, 399 with syphilis and 201 who weren't infected. They would be a part of the study. None of the men actually knew what the study was for. They were lured in with the promise of free healthcare, something that none of them had, and also the treatment of bad blood, a general localized term that encompassed several different afflictions, including anemia, fatigue, and other venereal diseases. The men were told that they were going to get free medical exams, meals, and burial insurance. For those who actually had syphilis, they were never informed of their diagnosis nor given any treatment for it. Additionally, very painful and unnecessary spinal taps were performed on many people in the study. It was said that the reason for the deception was that it would be the only way the men would stay in the study, and the researchers, they wanted to closely observe the course of the disease over a large sample size to see the effects as the disease progressed, even to death.
Yeah, because usually when you tell somebody that they have a disease that can kill them, and you tell them the point of the study is to not treat them, they're probably going to leave the study.
But not to worry, because as long as the ones that died allowed autopsies to be performed, their funeral expenses would be covered. It was actually not an uncommon practice at the time of taking the government's consent in medical matters rather than the individuals. But in part, the deception seemed to result from the lack of respect that the doctors had for the men's intellectual capabilities. Most were illiterate, which the researchers thought was helpful, as it would be harder for the subjects to figure out what was going on. There were also less than subtle hints of racial prejudice.
Right there.
For example, in a letter to a colleague, Dr. Clark wrote that these Negroes are very ignorant and easily influenced by things that would be of minor significance in a more intelligent group. Dr. Raymond Vonderler was the on-site doctor of the study. He actually...
I want to say just a quick thing about that, because normally for regular thinking people like us, you understand why that's wrong. But there are some people, some small amount, that truly believe in the idea that some people are just more intelligent than others. And intelligence is not something that is measured by blood. It's not. It's something that is, well, there are certain things that might hinder intelligence, like mental, well, it sounds kind of offensive to say it this way, but mental issues. If you have some type of mental handicap of some kind, that can hinder you from possibly learning something. But at the same time, it's not the fact that you are unwilling to learn. It's just that there's literally something that is preventing you from doing it. If you have a fully functional, 100% affected brain. I know that sounded kind of weird coming from me saying like that, but if your brain is 100% ideal, then there's nothing that's preventing you from possibly learning something. The only thing that would stop someone from learning something is, I guess, their interest in whether or not they want to learn it. But the point is, these people that were claimed to be extremely ignorant and were not part of the intelligent group that this person was referring to, how many of them were given the same opportunities that the intelligent group that he's thinking of were given? How many of them were given access to schools, or let's say school, like extended schools? Like, how many of them had the ability to go to school after graduating, or even if they even had the ability to graduate? How many of them had to work from a very young age because of their living conditions? You know, poverty sometimes will make you, or will force your hand and make you do certain things as opposed to what you planned on doing. There were a lot of extremely intelligent black people at the time, like W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, and like a lot of Ida B. Wells. There's a ton of black figures at the time that were extremely smart. That alone should take a shot at this idea that they're a lesser intelligent group. Those people that I've mentioned should be an example that you're capable of doing it. It's just that it depends on the opportunities that you have to learn it. Why do I sound like Bill Cosby when I said that?
Reported partial treatment for the men for the sole purpose of making sure they remained in the study, as in stayed alive. He was the one who actually gained consent for the men for spinal taps via letters that he sent to them. They read, "You will now be given a last chance for second examination. This examination is a very special one, and after it is finished, you will be given a special treatment if it is believed you are in condition to stand it." The study was initially only planned to go on for 9 months, but it went on for well beyond a year, and then, due to breakthroughs, was extended beyond that. In 1934, 2 years after the study began, the first major paper was published detailing the health effects of untreated syphilis. By 1936, according to the CDC, a medical paper was published criticizing the treatment plan for the men. 1940 brought efforts to hinder the men in the study from getting treatment ordered under the military draft effort. You see, about 250 of them had registered for the draft and been found to have syphilis and ordered to be treated. In 1928, a Nobel laureate, Alexander Fleming, discovered penicillin. 1930 was the first recorded medical use of penicillin to treat infections. After penicillin was used to treat the survivors of the Boston Cocoa Grove fire in 1942, it became the medicine of choice for the United States military for infections. By 1945, penicillin was the accepted treatment for syphilis. Despite this, the subjects of the Tuskegee Syphilis experiments were never administered or offered penicillin as a treatment. The study administrators wanted to watch the progression of the disease as the men got sick and, in many cases, died for the 40 years that the study went on, even though for much of it a relatively effective treatment was available. All total, it's estimated that 128 of the men died either directly from syphilis or complications related to it. 40 also infected their wives, and in some cases possibly others, and there were 19 of the men's children who were born with congenital syphilis. Finally, on July the 25th, 1972, Gene Heller of the Associated Press broke the story that uncovered the truth about the study. A government panel ruled that the study was ethically unjustified and ended it. In the summer of 1973, attorney Fred Gray filed a class action suit on behalf of the men against the PHS, and it ended with $9 million, which is about $50 million today,
That's nothing.
being handed out to participants as settlement. And now for some bonus facts. In a similar study, this time to test penicillin's effectiveness in treating syphilis and other STDs, researchers led by Dr. John Charles Cutler, who was also involved in the Tuskegee experiments from the United States, funded by the Public Health Services and Pan American Health Sanitary Bureau and the National Institutes of Health, headed to Guatemala in 1946 and found prostitutes who had syphilis. He then got them to give it to unsuspecting Guatemalan soldiers, mental health patients, and prisoners. They also directly infected certain individuals by, to quote Michael Cook from BioEdge, direct inoculations made from syphilis bacteria poured into the men's penises and on forearms and faces that were slightly abraded, or in a few cases, through spinal punctures.
Ugh. Ugh. Why would you do? Okay. Okay. That's fucked up, and the people who did it are dead, and I hope they're burning in hell. But with that being said, let's go back and listen to the people that they chose for this new experiment.
In a similar study, this time to test penicillin's effectiveness in treating syphilis and other STDs, researchers led by Dr. John Charles Cutler, who was also involved in the Tuskegee experiments from the United States, funded by the Public Health Service.
Let's stop and take a minute to recognize the fact that the person that did this heinous experiment and the government admitted was wrong went on to do similar experiments.
Services and Pan American Health Sanitary Bureau and the National Institutes of Health headed to Guatemala in 1946 and found prostitutes who had syphilis. He then got them to give it to unsuspecting Guatemalan soldiers, mental health patients, and prisoners.
Guatemalan soldiers, mental health patients, and prisoners. Usually, when you're talking about like certain stuff, like what am I thinking of? When you're talking about like eugenics, people looking to exterminate or anything like that, usually these are the type of people that they go for first. Now, is it a coincidence that these experiments are targeting the exact same people that I'm willing to bet if Hitler had a checklist on his final solution idea, they would be right there? I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's necessarily like not a coincidence, but it yeah, this is what happens when you are the leading nation in the world and nobody is challenging you. You can do the exact same stuff that you accuse other people of doing, that those other countries would have been seen as war criminals and tyrants and all this other stuff, but you have none of that. Like, this experiment, it's not as far as the Holocaust was, because the Holocaust was specifically designed to kill people. You're still torturing and maiming people unnecessarily, and nothing is coming out of it. Like I said, the person that did the Tuskegee experiment went on to do this experiment. And do you think after they did this experiment, they went to jail? Probably not. They probably lived a comfortable life and then died peacefully in their sleep on their bed with their family around them. That's how life is, and it's just fucked up. Just remember that the person that claims to be the good guy is not always the good guy. Matter of fact, usually the person with the biggest gun tends to be the person that claims to be the good guy, because the person with the biggest gun is the only person that's alive to tell the story of who the good guy was.
They also directly infected certain individuals by, to quote Michael Cook from BioEdge,
I'm going to skip this part.
It isn't known how many people died as a result of this, as the results of the study were never published. By the way, Dr. John Cutler faced no consequences for the numerous people that died in his experiments, and
of course,
even led an illustrious and celebrated career, including at one point being an assistant to the US Surgeon General. And now for another bonus fact. Syphilis is a sexually transmitted...
Now imagine Dr. Mengele leaving the medical field, or not leaving the medical field, but leaving his post in Nazi Germany, going to some other country, and immediately becoming like assistant to their top medical scientists. Like, imagine that. That's pretty much the same damn thing. Again, I understand that Mengele's experiments were way more heinous than this, but it's still torturing, and you still know the effects that you're having, and you still have multiple. I would say multiple, just be on the safe side, because I don't know whose death count was necessarily. Well, I know Mengele's death count was probably higher, but I don't know how much higher. So I'm just going to say multiple. Both of them have multiple deaths on their hands.
transmitted disease, and one of the symptoms is marks on the hands and the face of the infected person. These marks could often be found during this time on Catholic priests, cardinals, and a pope. It showed that celibacy couldn't be policed and was not always followed. For reference, Catholic priests were first required to be celibate in 304 AD thanks to the Council of Elvira, which resulted in Canon 33 stating, "Bishops, presbyters, and deacons and all other clerics must abstain completely from their wives." However, this wasn't widely adopted at the time, and it wasn't until the Second Lateran Council of 1139 when priests were forbidden to marry. In 1563, the Council of Trent once again affirmed this stance on celibacy and against marriage. The priests are still human, however. In perhaps one of our favorite quotes from the famed theologian Martin Luther, he stated, "Nature never lets up. We are all driven to the secret sin." To say it crudely, but honestly, if it doesn't go into a woman, it goes into your shirt. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If
I guess they didn't have socks
hit
back
that
then.
thumbs up button below, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got brand new videos just like this every day of the week. But if you're looking for something else to watch right now, why not check out a video from the archives linked to on the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.
Dude has an amazing talking voice. But yeah, like I said, imagine all the stuff that was said in this video, and then instead of it being somewhere for the United States, just take the whole story except make it about Nazis against Jewish people, and it's like it becomes a whole different thing. It just does. So it just lets you know that the victors are the ones that write the history books, because both of them have done heinous things. And I'm somebody that's very big on calling someone out. If you do something wrong, you should be mature enough to be able to get out there and say, "You're right, I did this, I'm sorry, and I'm going to make amends." And there you go. Like, just come out with it. That's the reason why I've had shit with the Japanese and the rape of Nanking, which I was actually like mostly wrong about. Again, I'll say it again because of some people that might have watched my History of the World video and didn't watch any of my other videos, so they didn't hear my follow-up. I'll say it again. A majority of Japan does in fact believe the rape of Nanking happened. Now the debate might be what the scale of it was, but from what I understand, there's only a small fringe group of people in Japan that believe it didn't happen, and most people tend to disagree with them. But I just wanted to make that correction. But bottom line is, you should accept that happened, and you should apologize and try to make amends. Same thing with Turkey and the Armenian genocide. It still doesn't take away from the fact that Turkey is one of the greatest nations that have existed. The Ottoman Empire and all the things that they were able to do as far as like their impact on humanity and just influence as an empire is amazing. Like I look at the Ottoman Empire and it's like, wow, you guys did that. That's fucking amazing. But with that being said, you still have the black eye of the Armenian genocide. Just say that you're right, we fucked up, we shouldn't have done that, we're sorry, and we'll try to make amends. There you go. Now, I know that there's in Turkey it's a lot more it's a lot more open with the idea that the Armenian genocide didn't happen, or it was a retaliation against something that Armenian people might have done or whatever else. Either way, I see it as wrong. If it ever gets to a situation where you are fucking with innocent people, then it's wrong. And in this case, this is the United States. We need to call ourselves out for shit like this when it happens. This was wrong. You should apologize and make amends, not have to be sued and settle with some measly ass payout like $9 million. That's not enough. They killed 180 some people, and there was like over 400 some people that was in the experiment. $9 million doesn't equal to a lot of goddamn money at the end of the day when you consider the fact that these people, a lot of these people freaking died in this experiment. But hey, I guess you can take their free funerals and add that to the damn bill, or take that off the bill. So there you go, they paid for the funerals. But Yeah, you should be willing to step up and admit that you did wrong. And the idea that you can't say that because you feel that by acknowledging something your country done is wrong, that makes your country any less great. It doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, it makes it more great, because if you're a country that is transparent and is willing to acknowledge the bad stuff it's done and go out of its way to fix it, that is a country that, if I was another nation, I'd want to do business with that country. Like, this is a country that has a moral backbone. They're not somebody that's going to try to hide the truth because it's inconvenient for them. They're not going to try to change narratives or anything like that. They acknowledge what has happened, and they'll try to do right by you while still trying to improve themselves. That's the best thing you can do when it comes to improving yourself, including for you as an individual. Whoever, like, you're watching this, if you want to know the best about something, or if you want to try to enlighten yourself, embrace opposites. Embrace what is different, and whether it's whether it's anything, whether it's talking about politics, or whether it's talking about religion, or whether it's talking about fitness or cooking or whatever else, be open to stepping outside the box and listening and taking into consideration different perspectives. Your side isn't always guaranteed to be right. Chances are you probably haven't even looked at the other side to know whether or not it's right or not. So you just made up your mind and then just went on to believe that what you believe is right. Your mind is like a muscle, just like any other muscle in your body. And I know what I'm saying is technically metaphorical, so don't take it seriously, but just like a muscle in your body, what makes it stronger is resistance. If you're trying to work out your bicep, you don't take some type of movement method and make it easier by making, let's say you take weight off, or you add some type of thing that makes it easier to lift the thing. That's not going to make your muscles stronger. What makes your muscles stronger is when you add resistance, when you add something that makes it a challenge. Your brain's the same thing. You think your talking points are good, okay, well, put them up against their talking points. If you have your talking points bouncing off a damn echo chamber or some safety bubble, of course it's going to seem strong to you, but it's really weak as hell, because anytime it meets any type of resistance, then you crumble and become Mr. Beta Man, or whatever the hell people like to say nowadays. But bottom line is, be open to outside opinions and outside perspectives. Now, about this Tuskegee Syphilis experiment and the debate about vaccines nowadays. I'm not going to keep saying about what, because I don't want this video to get flagged as a blank video or a video about blank. But the debate right now is, well, some people, especially in the black community, don't want to take the vaccine because they feel that it's very similar to the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment, and it's just something that they're going to give black people that's going to end up causing us to, or they're going to try to wipe us out, or they're going to try to get us infected with some type of weird disease. My point is, white people are taking it. The thing about the Tuskegee Syphilis experiment is that they were pretty certain and pretty upfront with the idea that only black people were doing this. Now, if the vaccine comes out and they say, hey, we only want the black people to take this, then fine. You can be as skeptical as you want to, and, whatever the hell else. But the fact that you have all these other people that are taking this vaccine, and they're showing the results by, on TV, or showing them in reality where you can see that nothing has happened to this person. And I know that there's like debate about, oh, well, this person had this. All I can say is look more into it, because chances are you got this information from Facebook or some shit, and for some reason people think that getting their news from some of the more mainstream channels is wrong, but Facebook is right. But yeah, bottom line is do some actual research into the vaccines and everything else. When it comes to vaccines, it's not necessarily a argument of, oh, well, I'm not going to take it because I don't trust it, but you're free to take it if you want to. That's not how vaccines work. Vaccines only work if a majority of the population, not even majority, but a very, very huge percentage of the population takes the vaccine. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Bacteria and viruses are living organisms. And just like any living organism, they are susceptible to evolution, just like we are. Only difference is because of how rapidly they reproduce, their evolution happens a hell of a lot quicker than ours. If you decide not to take a vaccine, your body can become, what the hell is the term I'm looking for? A chamber, I forgot the term I'm looking for, but your body becomes incubation chamber. I think that's what I was looking for. Your body becomes an incubation chamber for this virus that could evolve. And now it can start infecting the people that took the vaccine, and it's stronger. Like the reason everybody's supposed to take a vaccine at once is because you can deal a serious blow to the vaccine before it has a chance to evolve. Or not vaccine, serious blow to the virus before it has a chance to evolve. If you do it slowly and only a little bit at a time, you give the you give the virus more than enough time to get used to the vaccine and possibly breed a strand that is immune to the vaccine, so the vaccine becomes useless. It's the reason why usually if you don't vaccinate your kids, they don't let you go to school, because they don't want you around people that have been vaccinated, because if the virus or something were to suddenly get into you, now you're this walking biohazard weapon that could have viruses inside of you that are just breeding and changing, developing, and something might happen where it develops into something that is immune to the vaccine, and now other kids are getting it, and we're in a worse spot because now we have nothing to protect us against this new strand, whereas now we actually have a vaccine that at least can do damage. Yeah, that's how vaccines work. Like it's more than just a case of, oh, well, I'm not going to take it, but you feel free to do it if you want to. That's not how it works at all. Like you kind of have to take the vaccine, because if you don't, it doesn't just hurt you, it hurts other people. We're not telling you to take the vaccine just for you. We're telling you to take it for us. Kind of the same reason why we tell people to wear a mask. It's not about you. It's about us. Oh, you wear a mask, you can still catch it. Okay, you still can. But if you cough or sneeze, less particles are going to come out your face if you have something covering it. I don't give a damn that masks have little holes in it, so it makes it so some stuff gets through. The point is, a hell of a lot more would get through if there was no mask there. That is undeniable. I don't know if anybody can someone really say that that's not the case? You can experiment with it. Put your hand out in front of your face and go, and feel all the particles that touch your hand, and then put a mask on. Do the same thing. I guarantee you, a lot less particles are going to touch your hand. If it does, if the same amount of particles touch your hand, then I'll have to ask, where did you put your mask? Like, chances are the mask ain't on the spot where it's supposed to be. You need to look at the instructions again, because something messed up there. But yeah, in the black community, it seems like we have a lot of these situations where we will become skeptical of something unnecessarily. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of Black history, so I know a lot about the stuff that's happened in the past. I know that there's certain reasons why the Black community has certain issues with certain things, and why we should be skeptical about some things and why we shouldn't be skeptical about others. But when it comes to something like this, not doing something like taking this vaccine is like, you want to talk about the idea of something wiping us out. That is something that will wipe us out. Like, if I were a racist white person that was looking to exterminate Black people, and I hear that they're planning on not taking the vaccine because they think that we're going to do something, I would be sitting here like Willy Wonka, going, "No, stop, don't, please, don't do it. No, please, no, please, just take the vaccine, please. Don't do it, no." Like, because you're kind of doing the work for them. It doesn't make any sense. That's exactly what the hell they want. all the racists out there, they're well, nowadays the racists are probably the ones that are actually against the vaccine, I would imagine. Not saying everybody that's against the vaccine is necessarily racist, but I'm willing to bet most of the racists are against the vaccine. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I think that they would be completely against the idea of you taking the vaccine. If anything, wouldn't it be smarter to look at the white people that you believe are in control and do what they're doing? Because chances are they're not going to do something that hurts their own health at the cost of hurting you. Chances are they'll try to push something bad on you while they do the good stuff. So why don't you see what the good stuff they're doing is and follow that? It just seems like that would be a smarter idea than to just bang your head against the wall and be like, "See, you can't make me not bang my head on the wall. I'm not going to do what you tell me. You said don't bang my head. I'm going to bang my..." You don't have to be contrarian on everything. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to know my my positions on Black history and all the knowledge that I know, anybody that's watching this and goes, "Oh, this dude is Uncle Tom, he doesn't know what he's talking about," and okay, whatever. Go in the comment section and we can talk about it. We can go over all the different things that happened in Black history, and I can show you just how vast my knowledge of Black history actually is. So if you want to go ahead and try me, then please go ahead and try me. Because the funny thing is, the people that call the people Uncle Toms tend to be the biggest Uncle Toms of them all, because they're the ones that are actually setting back the race. But it's funny enough we say Uncle Tom, because that's not what the character was. I'm willing to guarantee every single person that uses the term Uncle Tom don't know anything about the actual book Uncle Tom's Cabin. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. Leave your opinions in the comment section. Just know, because of the subjects in this video, if you start talking about certain things that, like, let's say current events, I can't guarantee that YouTube won't delete some comments, because I have seen people in my comment section tell me, "Hey, I left a comment about this and it's not there anymore." I didn't delete it. If I delete your comment, I will tell you that I deleted your comment, and I'll tell you why I deleted your comment. I'm not one of these people that'll delete your comment and pretend like I don't know what the hell happened. If I delete your comment, there's a specific reason why I did it, and I stand behind it. So if your comment did disappear and I don't know what the hell happened to it, then chances are YouTube did something. So you better figure out what the hell you did to upset YouTube senpai and find some way to get forgiveness or something. But yeah, be careful with the subject that you talk about in this video, because for all I know is your comment could get deleted. But with that being said, I'm going to give you the deuces. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Until then, I'm Devon DaVinci, and I'm signing out. Deuces.